and it will help you to stay connected with God, with Christ. So we've got the importance of having good relationships inward, the importance of realizing that the Lord is near and sharing everything with Him in our relationship upward. And then he goes on to say, and if you want to continue to hear God's voice and to be part of what God is up to, then there's a way that you need to address the world as well. And that's where he goes in the last part of our reading for today. Basically what he says is, it's really important what you fix your eyes on. It's really important what you give your emotional energy to. He says, don't waste your time focusing on things that cause anger or frustration or fear or jealousy or greed. Focus on what's beautiful. Focus on what's good. Focus on the possibilities rather than the problems. And for me, basically, that's saying I need to spend less time on Facebook. Facebook is a surefire thing for me to be angry or frustrated or depressed by the time I've been on very long. And I think that's a good picture, that what do you put your energy into? What is your attention drawn to? Is it all these little political arguments and all these things of this is falling apart and the world is going the wrong place and there's no hope and we might as well give up? All that does is help us to want to give up. But what is it that God, as children of God, what is our position to be? Is our position to be the ones who are hopeless? No, our position is to be the ones who see that God is there, who see that the Lord is near, that we don't need to despair, that in the end He's the one who's in control. So Paul says, focus on what's good. Focus on what's right. Focus on what's beautiful. And as you do so, you're going to hear God's voice more clearly. He's going to invite you to be part of the solution. So all I know is when I'm focusing on what's wrong and what I'm frustrated with and what I'm anxious about, I don't hear God's voice at all. All I do is hear my own frustration or despair. So Paul says if you want to keep those channels open, look at what's good. Look at what's right. Think about those things. And it brings us back to what he said in the little paragraph about prayer. That where it says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice, let your gentleness be made known to all. That word gentleness is sort of a unique word. It's not just that you're this pushover who doesn't offend anybody. But basically, it's a picture, when you really look at the meaning of the word, it reminds me of who Jesus was. If you think of how Jesus affected people with his presence. The woman at the well, for me, is a good example. The woman at the well, Jesus has had this conversation with her, and he's come to the point where he says, go get your husband. And, oh, by the way, I know you've had several husbands, and the person you're with right now is not your husband. You think at that point, shame and despair would cause this woman to say, oh, he knows everything about me, I got to get away from this guy. But there's something about Jesus' presence that he knows everything about me, but yet I'm more attracted to him now than I was before I knew that. And really that's what the word is. It's the word that says that you don't treat people according to what they deserve. You treat them better than that. You treat them in a way that they don't deserve. So when you know that the Lord is near, when you know that you can trust him with your own life, then you can treat people in a different way. You can look at people not for what's wrong with them, to judge them or to condemn them. Maybe technically they deserve to be condemned, but this word says you don't treat them the way they technically deserve to be treated. But you treat them the way that brings out the best in them. You treat them in a way that sees what God's going to do with them, the potential that they have. And so that way you end up being part of the solution and not part of the problem. But in all of this, Paul is saying, if you want to continue this journey with me of coming to know Christ, then you got to stop having these things between you and others in the church. You got to stop thinking God's out there not caring about you, but give everything to him, realizing he's close, and thank him for all that he's doing. And don't focus on all the junk and what's wrong, but focus on what's right. And be part of God's activity to make more things right in the world around you. And you will experience, you'll stand firm. You'll come to know him in a way that you wouldn't, by being unforgiving, by being angry and anxious and frustrated, by focusing on everything that's wrong. Amen.